Shot clock is at 1. Cunningham fakes and fires and missed the shot. Rebounded by Banchero. Under 5 to play. Second quarter.
Did you just see that? Because maybe we don't truly understand what actually just happened. We just watched a 6'10", 250-pound human being grab the rebound, run the floor, and damn near poster someone on the other end. I know that we've kind of been conditioned to seeing things like this pretty often from guys like LeBron or Giannis, but as Orlando Magic fans can argue, this has been a lot more common than you might think. Because in just his second season, Paolo Banchero has been putting together what can be considered one of the best seasons from a 21-year-old in the history of the league. This season, he's currently averaging 23 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists, pretty much all of which are improvements as well as his efficiency on the floor. He's improved his overall field goal percentage by almost 4%, and he's improved his three-point percentage by almost 7%, jumping from 29.8% last season to 36.6% this season. But not only that, when we talk about what he's doing, we need to include the fact that he is 21 years old, and in fact, he is now one of only 4 players in the last 40 years to average 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists before turning 21. The other 3 players, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Luka Doncic. And pretty much all of them have at least something in common, which is that they have or had a clear physical advantage over a lot of their defenders at that age. And Paolo is no different. As I mentioned earlier, being 6'10", 250 pounds with a handle is allowing him to bully a lot of smaller defenders, especially at his position. And he seems to be one of those players that actually understands on the court how big and strong he actually is, because some of the buckets that he's been getting this season have just been hilarious. And usually very few players actually know how to use their size effectively, or if they do, they don't learn it until later on in their careers. He is in his second season doing this, and one thing that shows this pretty well is the amount of shots that he's been attempting at the rim and inside the three-point line as a whole, as most of his field goal attempts this season have been inside the three-point line, somewhere in the range of 70 to 75%. He's taken 330 shots in the restricted area this year as of the recording of this video, and he's shooting 64% on those attempts. He shot 254 attempts in the paint outside of the restricted area, and he's shooting 41% on those attempts. And actually this season, he's currently 6th in the NBA in total mid-range attempts, and he's shooting 38%. That's one of his weaknesses or areas to work on, I would say. And as I said, his three-point shot has vastly improved this season. He's actually shooting 37% on above the break threes, which is just any three-pointer that isn't a corner, and those are actually the vast majority of his attempts. Like, he is very quickly becoming a scoring threat from all over the floor, and a large part to why his averages have actually gone up this season is his improvement on several different types of shots that he struggled with last year. He's shooting 41% on pull-up jump shots, which is basically shots off the dribble. That's up from 34% last season. He's shooting 36% on spot-up threes, which is up from 31%, and he's shooting almost 45% from 15 to 19 feet, which is up almost 10% from where he was last season at 36%. The improvements in pretty much his entire game have been very apparent, and not just the regular scoring. He has actually become one of the more underrated clutch players in the league this season, as I didn't even realize this until I was researching for another player. He currently has the second most game-tying and go-ahead shots in the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter and overtime in the league this season, behind only Stephen Curry. He has been that good. And adding on to all of this, I mean, it's been pretty difficult to stop him, but even when he is sort of slowed down, we've only seen glimpses of how good his playmaking can actually be. The amount of cutters that he's been able to find, the cross-court passes that he's been able to make are pretty reminiscent of some players that we would consider some of the best passers in the league. And Might I remind you, this dude is 21 years old in his second season. So offensively, he is going to be a very big problem in the years to come. I mean, he already is, and he's only going to get better. And given how young he actually is, that's going to be a lot of time to improve. However, defensively is where he definitely needs to focus, I would say. His impact on defense this season has been very bad, as evident by his on-off numbers. When Paolo Banchero is on the floor, the Magic have a defensive rating of about 113. However, with him off the floor, their defensive rating improves to 104, almost 10 whole points. And as for offense, I mean, it's not really something that I care to talk about at this point because, I mean, Orlando is not an offense-oriented team. They're 26th in points per game this season, and they're 23rd in offensive rating. A huge part of why they actually have a winning record right now has been their defense. And I'm not gonna lie, it is very scary to think about what this team could look like defensively should Paolo improve on that end of the floor. Because they already have guys like Jalen Suggs, who's one of the best defenders in the league, Jonathan Isaac, one of the best defenders in the league, Markelle Fultz, who when he's there is pretty solid, Franz Wagner has been pretty solid. They have a lot of good defensive pieces on this team. They're currently 5th in the league in defense. If he improves his defense, there is no telling what the ceiling of this team could actually be. And it is worth noting that even though he has that huge deficiency to his game, the Orlando Magic are currently on pace to have their best season since Dwight Howard. As of right now, they're currently on pace for 47 wins, and they are looking like they are going to be a tough team to face in any potential round of the playoffs. But despite all this, and the reason that I wanted to make this video, he is not getting the attention that he very much deserves. And I feel like there are a few factors leading into that, but I think one of the biggest ones is the fact that the Magic this season have had almost no national attention. They came into this season with one scheduled national TV game, and that was the one in February against the OKC Thunder. And really, you could argue that they only made that a national game because it was Shaq's jersey retirement. And I feel like it's not really disrespectful. It's just the fact that a lot of people didn't expect the Orlando Magic to be this good coming into the season. And so now that they are, I imagine that they are going to get a lot more press and a lot more attention as we go into the playoffs and of course next year. All that being said, this shouldn't even be the case when you think about everything factoring into all this. Paolo Banchero was the #1 pick in the 2022 NBA draft, but I do feel like where he actually went is factoring into how much attention he's actually getting. But now Paolo, along with every other young player, has a brand new competitor to try to steal attention from. The 7'4" alien in Texas, because as of right now, he is getting about as much attention as a young player can get in this league, and for good reason. But the side effect of that is that we're glossing over a lot of these guys that are actually playing really well. And then you just have the part that I cannot understand, which is some people that are actually giving up on Paolo and Franz Wagner this early in their careers. You don't believe me? Take a listen.
Ultimately, aggressive or not, these guys don't project to be these top end kind of guys. I don't like Franz. He's going to get a nice contract. You know, he's going to get a max rookie extension, but is he ever going to be this like dominant, you know, possessions eating, efficiency monster? He hasn't shown that yet. And I don't think Paolo is either. And so to me, that's the problem for them. It's that, you know, they got the lottery, nice lottery luck and blah, blah, blah. They got the #1 pick and yada, yada, yada. But sometimes you get the #1 pick and it's Paolo. You know, sometimes you just don't get the right guy.
So the player that won Rookie of the Year last year was the #1 pick and was an all-star this year is being talked about like he's a mistake for drafting him. I understand that this is a very unpopular take, but I found that while researching this video and I had to include it because it's literally just that dumb. But I do think it also contributes to my point, because if the Magic had anywhere near the amount of national attention that some other teams have, there's no way that that take would even be conceived. But as I said, said, and as I've kind of been talking about and getting at for pretty much this whole video, the dude is still 21 years old. Like, there's a very real possibility that he becomes a top player in the league as soon as next season. If not, then definitely the season after that, provided that he actually improves on the things that I was talking about earlier. And when you have a player that is this good this early on, that knows how to use his size effectively, that has good court vision, that can break defenders down off the dribble at 6'10", that's gonna be something, bro. That is going to be something to stop when he actually reaches his full potential, as well as Franz Wagner. I didn't even talk about him as much this video. He has been incredible this season as well. The Orlando Magic have a very bright future right now. Like, this is only the beginning, and they're already on pace to make the playoffs and be a very tough team to beat. And so I assume that a lot of people are going to start figuring out how good this team actually is and how good they can be once they really start developing. And that way, they are probably going to take at least some attention away from some of the other stars in the league, like Wemby, who has been killing it this season. I made a video talking about his rookie year and went into more detail on the unique triple-double that he had just a couple weeks ago, so you can check that out here. But with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new, hit the bell to be notified when I upload, comment down below what you want to see next, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.